The Frogs lose a position coach and have a coaching staff shakeup 10 days before the season starts. Not great news. We'll talk about it more next round. Locked on Horned Frogs, your team every day.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Thanks for making the show your first listen. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever it is you get podcasts. You can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Some news on the coaching front today, which was really unexpected. Jeremy Clark had this report on Tuesday on Horned Frog Blitz 247. Jeremy does a great job covering the team. He said that corners coach Carlton Buckles has left the program for personal reasons. Didn't dive into what those reasons are. Obviously, don't really need to know, but tough situation. I mean, first off, I hope everything's okay for Coach Buckles and his family. Really odd timing, and obviously being this close to the season, you would think something pretty serious is going on for him to feel the need to step away and the coaching staff to be like, yeah, take some time. What are they going to do in the interim? Well, it looks like, again, according to Jeremy Clark's reporting, Julius Lewis, which is a familiar name, former corner at TCU and has been a GA during fall camp. He's going to take over some of that responsibility as a corners coach. And also Sonny Dykes has done a really good job this offseason of really beefing up this coaching staff, bringing in a lot of guys that have a ton of experience as analysts. We talked about Dana Holgerson and Todd Graham pretty extensively and what they're going to do. Dana actually working with the defense, doing some scouting for them. Todd Graham on the other side helping the offense out and doing some scouting on that side of the ball. And Casey Petrie, special teams analyst, but also another kind of under the radar hire they made was Julius Juice Brown, who has been around. He spent some time with Andy Avalos at Boise State. He was also in the Big 12 for a short time in 2019. He was a DB's coach at Texas Tech. But most recently, he was on Kalen DeBoer's staff at Washington. So that staff kind of got broken up late in the process because Nick Saban retires. Alabama goes and hires DeBoer. And Brown didn't end up making that move with him. So he was out there sort of late in the game. And because of his connection with Andy Avalos, I assume TCU was able to get him on staff as an analyst. So as far as like, what do you do moving forward? Like, we don't have to sugarcoat this. This is not great news. Now, I don't know how long this has been in the works or if they had some lead time to kind of figure this out and scramble, but we're talking about probably at the most 2 weeks before the season starts, you're losing one of your position coaches. That's a big deal, right? Like there's no way around that. And I'm excited for Julius Lewis to get this opportunity. He's was a really good player for the Frogs, opposite Jeff Gladney back in the day. And it's awesome that he's in coaching. He's going to get a chance to, show what he can do on this level, which is great. And then Coach Brown, Julius Brown, like you can't really ask for a better person to be in this spot now. He's got plenty of experience as a position coach, also as a recruiting coordinator at different spots, which I think is important because we'll talk about all the fallout from this. But one aspect of it as well is going to be during the season, recruiting is going to happen and then trying to maintain these relationships with current commits. But at the same time, this is a big loss. Like we've discussed, TCU is going to kind of shift their coverage style a little bit. It's going to be more physical, a lot of man-to-man coverage. You also have the element of you're kind of thin in that room right now. You lost Avery Helm. You lost Vernon Glover for a long time. Looks like most likely those guys aren't going to play until maybe towards the end of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see both of them throughout the entirety of the year. So Avery Helm is going to be one of your starters. Vernon Glover was a guy that they're excited about to sort of work into the rotation. So you're already having to kind of shuffle that around and get JT Broughton and Lamarian James ready. And, I mean, in Broughton's case, like he's played plenty of football, transfer from Utah. Lamarian James came over from Old Dominion. But if you're going to ask these guys to be on an island and play in some different techniques, a big part of that is having, continuity on the staff, having the guy that's been with these corners from the jump, showing them the ropes. And it's going to be different when game starts. Like it's one thing to take on new responsibilities, learn a new scheme, all the verbiage, and execute it in practice. But when the game is live and real, it'll be a different scenario. But this is the hand they've been dealt. So Coach Buckles taking some time away to handle a personal issue, and because of that, some guys are going to step up. Giving you a little more background on Julius Brown and who he is. He played his college ball at Boise State. He started his career as a corners coach at Troy in 2012, then moved to Arkansas State as a corners coach as well. Defensive back coach at Boise State in 2014 and 2015, and that's where he spent time with Andy Avalos, and then was at Utah State from 2016 to 2018, Texas Tech in 2019. All of these different stops, he was either a DB's coach or a corners coach. And then at Fresno State with Kalen DeBoer in 2020 and 2021 as a recruiting coordinator. And then in 2022 and 2023, the corners coach at Washington. So, I mean, this guy was on the staff that just played in the national championship not too long ago. And TCU was really fortunate with the timing of everything that happened to be able to get him as part of this coaching staff. Another thing that stands out, just reading his bio, is he's had some really opportunistic defensive backs through his career. They did a great job getting takeaways. At Utah State, he was part of a defense that had 22 interceptions in 2018, 32 forced turnovers. That ranked 6th nationally in takeaways. And then similar thing at Boise State when he was there with Andy Avalos. They did a really good job of taking the football away. So that was something that was missing last year. Turnover battle is going to be a big deal. I mean, that's football 101. You have to win that. But if your defense is not going to be, a lockdown unit that gets 3 and outs all the time, one way that you can supplement that is by putting your offense in advantageous situations, getting the ball in plus territory and giving them opportunities to go score. So as far as like the backup plan here, it looks good. Like there's a younger guy in Julius Lewis and then a very experienced coach in Julius Brown who can bridge the gap. But I still think there's a good chance there's some growing pains, and I don't know, just kind of getting communication down and understanding everything that you're going to have to do at that spot could be a difficult transition, along with the fact that you've already lost a couple guys at that spot because of injuries. Another sort of tentacle to this move that'll be interesting to see play out is you have the recruiting factor as well. So right now in the 2025 class, there's only one corner that's committed, but it's your highest rated recruit according to most recruiting services, in Micah Strickland, the Brownsboro corner, who they got over the summer, and that was a really big pickup. They do have a couple safeties in Joseph Albright from Westfield and then Julius Sims from White House. I don't know how active Coach Buckles was in talking with those guys as well, but they are DBs, so that's something to note. As I said earlier, I mean, the cool thing about Coach Brown is he's been a recruiting coordinator at different stops. He understands kind of what it takes, but you do have that aspect of, okay, you're losing with Micah, you're losing the most direct connection to him, most likely through the recruiting process. And so I think it's going to be a whole staff effort, honestly, to keep that going. And then if you were going to add another player at that position, all the scouting, all the relationship building that's come along with, or that's gone on with that, will also have to transition to someone else. So all of that stuff is we'll have to see kind of how it plays out. Again, not ideal timing, but it does feel like, even though I don't think they made this hire of Juice Brown with the intention of him eventually taking an on the field role, it really worked out where, man, at least you have someone who has done this in the past, who knows what it takes to be successful, who has a relationship with Andy Avalos. So this defense, there's not going to be a lot of new concepts to him. He's going to understand what coach wants. You really couldn't ask for a better situation in that regard. So, again, prayers to Coach Buckles with whatever's going on there. Timing's not the best, but life happens, and these things, are uncontrollable. So for the coaches that are going to step in, I think TCU has done about as well as they could have hoped, given the situation where they're at, as we are 8 days or 9 days away from that game against Stanford coming up next Friday. When we come back, we'll get into an interesting idea on the NIL front. And I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm going to pose the question next. Would you be interested in giving money directly to TCU football players during the game? That's right. There's a Big 12 school that has made this an option now where potentially, whether you're watching a game on TV or you're actually in the stadium, you could basically give tips to either the general NIL fund or you could give money directly to players depending on what you're interested in. Really cool idea. We'll see how it works out. But would you as a fan or a booster be willing to do that for TCU players? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team, and we do it here every day. Gametime. If you need tickets, Gametime is the app to use. They make it super easy for you. One thing that's great about Gametime, if you're not a planner, if things kind of sneak up on you and you're like, oh man, I want to go to this comedy show or this sporting event and I'm running out of time. I want to go see the Frogs play Long Island in a few weeks, but I need to start researching like how am I going to get tickets? Where am I going to park? Or where am I going to stay? What's going to happen over that weekend? Gametime makes it easy for you on the ticket front because they have last minute deals, flash sales, so you don't have to be, a month or 3 weeks ahead to understand exactly what's going on. The promo code is Locked On College. You can get $20 off with that promo code Locked On College, your first purchase. Terms and conditions, as always, do apply. There's a couple things I love about the Gametime app. I've told you before if you're a regular listener, but there's no hidden fees. There are fees, but they're going to tell you exactly what you're going to pay. You click on those tickets, it says this is what you're going to pay to have these tickets. So you don't get to the checkout and suddenly, wait, why did that add $40 to my total? That's not going to happen with Gametime. They also give you a great view of what your seat, or they tell you this is where you're going to sit. This is what your view is going to be like from the seat. Gametime app, download it today. Locked On College to get $20 off your first purchase. So I saw this news yesterday, and it made a lot of waves. And it's actually kind of funny because a couple days ago, I guess it was on Monday, Mike Gundy said in a press conference or a media scrum, and Mike Gundy's probably the most outspoken coach in the league by now. He's the longest tenured coach in the league. And it feels like he's at a place where at Oklahoma State where he can kind of say anything. Like he's survived some backlash. He's been a consistent winner. And he's just very off the cuff, honest, and going to tell you like, hey, this is how it is. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking about things. And so he kind of went on this mini rant during this presser where he was like, we're finally at the time of the year that I love because it's now about just playing ball. And I've told our players, I said, look, tell your agents to stop calling us and asking us for more money. Like we've locked in whatever you're going to get. NIL-wise, whatever you're going to get paid for the year, that's where we're at. We're not giving anybody a raise now. You're going to get the money you get, and now it's just about football. And I'm sure there is a sigh of relief for coaches with everything that they're dealing with now and that they're asked to do, that they would just be ready to coach football. And that's the biggest part of the job that they love, and the part of the job they want to be a part of the most is actually coaching the game on a day-to-day basis. So I totally get his sentiment there. But it was interesting because he said that, and I get his point. It's like, all right, we've negotiated. We've done all that. It's now time to play football. But then on Tuesday, some news came down that Oklahoma State is going to put QR codes on the back of their players' helmets, and they're going to encourage fans to scan those QR codes, and they can donate directly during games, either to Pokes with a Purpose, which is their NIL collective, or they can donate directly to individual players if they'd like. Which, I mean, it's kind of a cool idea because I could definitely see a scenario where Ollie Gordon has a big game and he gets a huge touchdown run or does something awesome, and some fans say, you know what? I want to pay Ollie Gordon. I want to give Ollie Gordon some money. Give him a little cash for what he did today. And so if they're able to, the thing I don't really understand is practically it doesn't seem to make a ton of sense, scanning a QR code on your TV. I mean, I know you can do that, but is it going to be on the screen in focus long enough that you can get your phone out, get the camera on, and do all those things? And then at the game, I mean, I guess you could use the Jumbotron. Maybe I'm sure they'll have QR codes maybe on the seats that would take you possibly directly to the link you need. If they don't, they should do that because I'm not sure how accessible it'll be if they don't. But it's an intriguing idea, and it got me thinking, as a TCU fan, would you be willing to do that? Like, could you see a point in the game where you would say, you know what? Josh Hoover's slinging it today. He's having a good game. He's throwing it around the yard. I want to throw him some cash right now. Or, man, Cam Cook just broke off a huge run. Namdi Obizor gets a huge tackle behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, I don't have a lot to give, but I could see myself doing that. Now, again, I think it's about how can you make it more accessible to the fans. One idea I had when I was thinking about this was I think it would make more sense if, and I don't know the compliance rules that would apply here, but if they could put that QR code like on social media. So teams tweet out highlights or put them on Facebook or whatever, Instagram. And so you put the highlight out there. You're like, hey, Josh Hoover hooks up with Savion Williams, 30-yard touchdown pass. And just at the bottom, you're like, if you want to make a difference, here's the link to the Flying T Club, donate today. And I could see that working pretty well. But I do give Oklahoma State credit for having an outside-the-box idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's not really going to, like, it can't hurt. I mean, at the very least, maybe guys won't get as much as they expect, but if they get anything from this, I'm sure they'll be grateful. And then another cool thing I thought could happen is maybe someone makes a big play unexpectedly. You know, maybe the backup linebacker or backup safety ends up with a huge tackle or a game-saving interception. And in that scenario playing out, I could see a world where there's sort of a groundswell of people. They're like, you know what? Let's make sure we donate some money to this player who's probably doing okay, but not making, you know, what the starting quarterback is. And let's just make sure they know that they're appreciated and that play is appreciated by the fans. So it's a cool idea. Again, I don't know how practical it'll be, but I do want to know from a TCU fan perspective, is this something that you would be interested in doing? Because I think TCU fans are great and they could get behind this and it could be a really positive story. And I don't know if that's the way we're moving, because it eventually sounds like we're going to get to a place with NIL where it goes directly through the schools. So all these collectives will sort of be out of fashion. Maybe they'll still be a thing, but they'll be in-house. And I know TCU's excited about that. Jeremiah Donati says that TCU's ready to give the max allotment to student athletes if all the legalities get sorted out. There's lawsuits and all kinds of things that are getting negotiated and getting or going through litigation right now. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea. But let me know in the YouTube comments. You can tweet at me at SimcockSteven. You're watching a game over the next few years. Could you see yourself saying, hey, let me throw some money here at Eric McAllister for making that big catch, or Lamarian James getting that huge pass breakup on third down that got the ball back for the Frogs and they end up going to win the game. I think it'll be interesting to see how much guys make on this Oklahoma State team this year. And Cody, who hosts the Oklahoma State show, I haven't listened to the show yet, but I saw his thumbnail for today, and he kind of compared it to an SEC type of idea, just from the standpoint of like, yeah, they are trying to find inventive and new ways to make sure that their guys are taken care of, and that's the new world of college athletics. When we come back, someone had a question for me that I haven't addressed yet, so I'll get to that next here on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. I do want to talk about Ibata. Sandal, sunscreen, snack for the kids. What all these things have in common? You're probably buying them a ton again this summer. Don't stress about the cost. Use Ibata to get cash back on all your purchases when you stock up on summer essentials. It's summertime, which means it's barbecue season. Stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibata. You don't have to choose between burgers or hot dogs. You can get both. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. The average Ibata user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. You can save over 2,400, or you can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you join the 50 million users who use Ibata to earn cash back every time they shop. Ibata, shop there today. So Brian Capers reached out on YouTube yesterday and said, hey, what's the deal with Sedona Prince? She's accused of abuse. Tell me that's not happening. So this story's been out there for a couple days. I haven't commented on it because I'm still trying to kind of get my information straight. But the short version is Sedona Prince, who is center for TCU women's basketball, and a TCU women's basketball team coached by Mark Campbell that is going to have pretty high expectations this year. Has some big non-conference games coming up against NC State and South Carolina in the fall. But they added Haley Van Lith, Maddie Shear. They had a really good offseason in the transfer portal. And Sedona's girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, I guess I should say, has gone to TikTok, and she has posted a number of TikTok videos where she has accused Sedona Prince of physical and verbal abuse that happened on a recent trip that they went on to Mexico, stayed at a resort there. Allegedly, they went on an ATV ride late at night, didn't have their phones with them. Basically got to a place where it was, didn't know where they were, kind of lost. She was scared. So they ended up going back. And on their way back, they got some help from some locals to try to get back to the resort. Allegedly, Sedona was intentionally swerving the ATV and driving kind of crazy, and threw her ex-girlfriend off the ATV, which caused some, physical bruises and pain, those types of things. And then there were some other allegations, more like personal relationship stuff, like infidelity and things like that in those videos. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen with her status on the team. There is a petition that's been sent out online where there's a number of people that have signed and asked that Sedona be removed from the basketball team. At this point, I don't know of any legal investigation or situation that's going on. It's not great, and I want to take the allegation seriously, but Sedona hasn't made a comment about it. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what happened. And my general thought on it is TCU will kind of investigate the case themselves and see what they think the truth is, and then move on from there. But no, it's definitely not good PR. It's not a good look. And we'll just have to see how the story plays out. But those are the accusations that have come down so far. And I guess we'll see if there's any legal investigations or police investigations come with it. But right now, it's just allegations out there on social media and a petition of people asking for Sedona to be removed from the team. So we'll follow that story as it continues to develop. This is Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team. We do it here every day.